It was just after sunset, and the quiet hum of crickets filled the air outside Jake Miller's small suburban home. Jake, a retired Army veteran and single father, had just finished putting away the dishes when he heard frantic knocking at his front door. At first, he thought maybe it was one of the neighborhood kids playing a prank, but the pounding was desperate, shaky, almost frightened. He opened the door and froze. Standing there was a little girl, no more than 10 years old, with messy brown hair and tear-streaked cheeks. She clutched a faded pink backpack against her chest as if her life depended on it. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Hide me. Don't let him find me. Please." Jake's instincts as a soldier and as a father kicked in at the same time. He immediately scanned the street behind her, but no one was there. The girl's wide eyes darted nervously around, as though expecting someone to appear at any second. "Who's after you?" Jake asked softly. "My dad," she said, her voice breaking. He's coming." Jake hesitated. He knew nothing about this child, but every fiber of his being told him she was in danger. He opened the door wider. "Come inside. You're safe here." The girl hurried in, clutching her backpack like it held the answer to everything. Jake locked the door and knelt down so he was at her level. "My name's Jake," he said gently. "You're safe now. What's your name?" "Emily." Jake gave her a reassuring nod. "Okay, Emily, why don't you sit down for a minute and tell me what's going on?" But before she could answer, there was a loud bang on the front door. A man's angry voice shouted from outside, "Emily, get out here now!" Emily's entire body went rigid. She buried her face in her backpack and whispered, "Please don't let him take me, please." Jake felt his pulse quicken. He knew that voice, the raw, dangerous tone of a man fueled by rage. He stood tall, every ounce of his military training coming back in an instant. "Stay here," he told Emily firmly. When he opened the door just a crack, a tall man with bloodshot eyes and a wild look glared back at him. His breath reeked of alcohol. "You seen a little girl? She ran this way." The man slurred. Jakey's voice was calm but strong. "No, I haven't. And if I did, I sure wouldn't hand her over to someone who looks like you." The man cursed, pounded the door again, but after Jake stood his ground with the steady gaze of a soldier who'd faced worse threats in battle, the man eventually stumbled back into the night, muttering under his breath. Jake locked the door again and turned to find Emily sobbing quietly on the couch. He sat down beside her, unsure if he should push her for answers. That's when he noticed the backpack she kept clutching so tightly. It wasn't just a school bag, it looked heavy, stuffed to the brim. "Emily," he said softly, "what's in the bag?" She hesitated, her small hands tightening around the straps. I can't tell you. You'll send me back." Jake shook his head. "I would never send you back to someone who scares you like that. But if you're carrying something dangerous, I need to know." Emily slowly unzipped the backpack, and what Jake saw made his chest tighten. Inside wasn't food, clothes, or toys. It was a pile of crumpled drawings, hundreds of them. Each one was of the same thing, a little girl hiding under a bed, crying while a dark figure towered over her. Some pages were smudged with what looked like dried tears. Jake felt his throat tighten. He gently picked up one drawing. "You've been carrying all of this with you." Emily nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "They're all I have. I draw when things get bad. When he yells or throws things, sometimes he hits me. I didn't know where else to go. I couldn't take it anymore." Jakey's heart broke. As a soldier, he had seen trauma, but nothing compared to the raw pain of a child forced to carry fear alone. He thought of his own daughter, who was away at college. What if it had been her? Scared and begging for help, he took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Emily, you did the right thing coming here, and I promise you, I'm not going to let anyone hurt you again." For the first time, Emily looked up at him with a glimmer of hope in her eyes. The night stretched on. Jake made her a sandwich, let her borrow one of his daughter's old blankets, and tucked her in on the couch. As she drifted to sleep, still holding one of her drawings close, Jake sat across the room, watching over her like a guardian. In the quiet, memories of his military service came back. Those moments when he and his squad had to protect the vulnerable in war-torn villages. And now, here he was, protecting one child in his own neighborhood. The next morning, Jake made a difficult call. He reached out to Child Protective Services and explained everything. An officer and a caseworker came to his house, and Emily clung to Jake's hand, terrified she'd be taken away. "It's okay," Jake whispered to her. "They're here to help, and I'll be right here with you." The caseworker promised to find Emily a safe place away from her father's abuse. But as they prepared to leave, Emily tugged Jake's sleeve. Can I come back to see you?" she asked shyly. Jake knelt down, his voice steady but full of emotion. "Emily, you'll always have a safe place here. Anytime you need me." Her eyes filled with tears, but this time, they weren't tears of fear. They were tears of relief. As the car pulled away, Jake stood on his porch, his heart heavy yet hopeful. He knew Emily's road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he also knew she'd never forget that one night when someone chose to stand up for her instead of turning away. And for Jake, it was a reminder that sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought overseas. They're fought in the quiet moments when choosing kindness can change a life forever. For the next few days, Jake couldn't shake Emily from his mind. Every time he passed the couch where she had slept, he imagined her small frame curled under the blanket, clutching her drawings for safety. He told himself he'd done the right thing by calling the authorities. Yet a part of him still wondered if it was enough. On the fourth day, there was another knock at his door. Jake's chest tightened, this time not frantic but gentle. When he opened it, he was surprised to see Emily standing there with a social worker by her side. Her face lit up the moment she saw him. "Jake," she cried, running into his arms before the caseworker could say a word. Jake crouched down, hugging her tightly. "Emily, what are you doing here? Are you okay?" The caseworker smiled. "Emily insisted on showing you something. She hasn't stopped talking about you since the night you helped her." Emily pulled out her backpack. Still the same faded pink one. But this time she opened a hidden zipper Jake hadn't noticed before. Inside was a sealed envelope, old and creased, with Jake's name written in careful, shaky handwriting. Jake froze. "Where did you get this?" Emily bit her lip. "It was in my mom's things. She wrote it before she passed away. She said if things ever got really bad with my dad, I should find you." Jakey's hands trembled as he opened the envelope. Inside was a letter from Emily's mother, someone Jake once knew from years ago. "Dear Jake," it began. "If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer here to protect Emily. You were the kindest man I ever knew, and I trust you more than anyone. Please, if she ever finds her way to you, keep her safe." Jakey's throat tightened as he read the words. Memories came flooding back. He had known Emily's mother long before his military service, back when life was simpler. They'd lost touch, but he remembered her as warm, gentle, and strong. He folded the letter with trembling hands and looked at Emily, whose eyes brimmed with tears. "My mom always told me," she whispered, "that kindness saves people. That's why I came here. I thought maybe you were the person she meant." Jake pulled her into his arms again, this time with tears of his own. At that moment he knew it wasn't fate or coincidence that Emily had shown up at his door that night. It was destiny. A promise, written years ago, that had finally found its way to him.